Meanwhile, there was a violent uprising in the year 2000, very violent, with suicide bombing. Maybe you read about it. A lot of people killed in suicide. The first intifada was nearly no violent. The first uprising. Second uprising was extremely violent. Extremely violent. I mean, discotheques, supermarkets, buses, markets, you would think. And on our side, an overkill killing Palestinians because they said they are hiding in a house, so they will put a bomb and will kill everybody. So overkill on the Israeli side. So after the year 2000, because it was so violent, I approached the number 2 of the Israeli embassy in Washington and said, just meet Mubarak, see what kind of a person he is, and he's advocating nonviolence. Perhaps in the immediate future, it's also good for the Jews and good for the Arabs that we stop this bloody violence. And by the way, he will demand the same demands of independence, having a state and so on, but not violently. And apparently the secret police of the FBI of Israel, who is more moderate than our politicians that are more extreme, at the moment Netanyahu is very extreme, they say, okay, he can come for a month, provided he's not doing any trouble, like he can come. He has a family, he can come for a family visit. So Mubarak started to come for a month every year. And the first thing he did is to organize a major conference on nonviolence with 500 people in Bethlehem, 500 people, including Jews like me, who we were given a quota only of 20 people because, they wanted to proselytize the Palestinians, the Arabs, including people from Hamas. You may have heard that Hamas is an Islamic violent organization. They came to listen. It was a very successful conference, and there were later on maybe 5-6 NGOs dealing with nonviolence. I give you an example of one called MEND, M-E-N-D, nice word in English, which means Middle East Nonviolence and Democracy, MEND. That I really think is nice. There was another one, was Center for Conflict Resolution and Nonviolence, and so on and so forth, different cities of the West Bank. So Mubarak would come kind of once a year. He has a brother who has a small private university called Bethlehem Bible College. They're Christians, I should say. His brother is a pastor of a Lutheran church. So eventually he restarted working on that. And I decided I'd like to invite him to teach with me at Haifa University, unheard of, he was deported and so on. That was only a few months ago. That's why I bring it to present. Because Netanyahu is a very difficult person, politically speaking. I was worried that the agreement with the FBI of Israel, which can come for a month, will not be respected. I don't know if you are at the university, you may have heard about BDS, the campaign called Boycott, Disinvestment, and Sanctions Against Israel. Raise your hands those who heard about BDS. Well, quite a number. So, Mubarak, for instance, is for BDS because he says it's non-violent. I have my criticism, I think, but Mubarak says for a selective BDS. And the fact is that he was willing to come to Israel, not to boycott Israel, and to teach in an Israeli university. We have a lot of our students there. 41% of our undergraduates that receive the BA are Arabs, so it's Israeli Arabs are there. So Mubarak came to teach with me. The course is called, that's what I want to talk now, Nonviolent Action and Peaceful Resistance. And it's relevant for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We had Palestinian students, we had Jewish students, Israeli students, international students, all doing NMA on conflict management, peace and conflict management. We had about 20 students. And I figured out that he would come for a month, and then I'll let him talk most of the time, and then I'll continue for a semester, and eventually he will connect by Skype from Washington. When he came to the airport, we have been so much lobbying that they should be allowed in because of the escalation of Netanyahu, that he has stopped some people that are active members of the campaign BDS. They don't let them in. And Mubarak was on record saying that he's for BDS. And yet, not that he wouldn't work with Israelis who are for two states, like me and others. I mean, state side by side. I mean, to make the story shorter a little bit, he eventually came to the airport and was kind of praying that things will go well. He was received by the security at the airport as a VIP. I mean, somebody waiting for him. On a one-to-one, he was saying, Dr. Awad, are you Dr. Awad? Yes. Please come, cup of tea. They talk, they check the passport, and they let him go. They say, look, we arranged for you a visa for 3 months. And that was so funny because I thought barely he would get a month. Suddenly he has 3 months, but he bought the ticket already. Mubarak said for 6 weeks, not for a month. He wanted to do civil disobedience for 2 weeks. And I assumed they would expel him, but he would say, I was born in Jerusalem, I have the right, and so on. So, he's a constructive troublemaker for peace, which I really think this extra mile that you do on nonviolence, also ridiculizing what authority is very effective. And, so I went on the task vessel, just finished in June, and he left before, but he was on Skype and so on. And I will tell you what is the result in a moment when I now go into my script. So let me tell you a couple of things about why do I think that nonviolence can work well in our part of the world, and for that purpose everywhere. Much of what I did, and people who are liberal, progressive, more towards peace and human rights and so on, has been thinking about the end rather than the mean. Namely, we were agreeing on how will be the future arrangement. We talked, for instance, of the two-state solution, Palestine and Israel, two neighboring states. We talked what to do with the Palestinian refugees. We talk about Jerusalem, how to make Jerusalem the capital of two states, rather than Trump making it only the capital of one state now, as you know. We talk about borders. We talk about the final picture, and we agree. But we don't talk so much about how do we reach from here to there. When you talk about means rather than ends, it is more productive. I want to give you a kind of a world picture now. In the extremists on both sides of the political spectrum have been neglecting the use of peaceful means. I go to communism on the one hand. They say the end justify the means. Namely, for the sake of communism or socialism or any beautiful future, we can kill, use, execute, and so on. And we know the story of the Soviet Revolution, the enormous prize, Stalin, etc., etc. And where did it end with the Putin that is also a criminal type. So the idea that the ends, I was dealing with ends with many other Israeli and Palestinians, how do we want to make peace the day after peace? So now we go back and we say the means are very relevant. And we should not say any means, including violent means, can result in a peaceful solution. The other extreme, I'll take the National Rifle Association, are now saying the right to bear arms is like top in the Constitution, is top in the US. But the reality of bearing arms, we all know. A massive number of civilians killed. Am I right? So is that beneficial to society? I don't think so. I don't think so. So we have the two extremes that have been legitimizing the use of weapons for a good cause. One was independence, and the other one was, we are all equal, in the communist world, there will be no state, never happened. So the idea of not using violence, it appeals a lot because it basically says the opposite. I had a colleague pass away in Israel, an historian who said the ends do not justify the means. And he added, in fact, the means may affect or even determine the outcome of the ends. So if you fight peacefully, it is more likely that the end will be a peaceful situation. It's like, a revelation that it makes so much sense. If all your way you do it peacefully, it is so much likely that there will be a peaceful, stable outcome. It was a kind of a shortcome that violence can lead to peace, but now I want to give you the evidence because this is, I think, logically makes sense. Am I right? It does make sense. By the way, I've been to wars, I've been in artillery, I've been in Lebanon, I've been in occupied territories when I was young, and I also think that there are just wars. Sometimes if Hitler would have been now, I would have volunteered to fight militarily against Hitler. I don't want to make, I want to say, a purist saying always no other place in the world never use violence. A little bit like Gandhi. I'm a bit more pragmatic. I say use nonviolence first. Use nonviolence first. You can make it. At times, if there is a horrible man like Bin Laden and so on, if I can apprehend him and take him to a prison, it will be better because it will be symbolic. But if I cannot, I don't have a problem of using violence against somebody. I say that because Mubarak will disagree with me. He goes all the way 100%, like Gandhi. And I go most of the way with Mubarak. I wish I could say the Israeli-Palestinian situation we disagree, no, because we are so far away of the decision of, we should definitely try non-violence, especially that the first Intifada got the Palestinians quite a number of successes, which I will, perhaps, if we have time, I'll talk about. So I go to this fundamental issue first. Means are extremely important, and the means can be elaborated scientifically like weapons. Nonviolence International, Washington, D.C., Michael Beer, a friend of your center here, he works there. He prepared now a list with 406 nonviolent methods. It's 406. I don't know that we have 406 weapons. I mean, different types of weapons. So it's an amazing list. It includes a lot through the internet now, which is an extraordinary extra method because you can do it long distance and you don't have to be, of course, the internet could be used also for violence. It's like an open area for both. But if we have campaigns on non-violence, the internet can be very useful, very useful. In the Arab Spring, which only Indonesia won non-violently and the rest, collapsed. Now maybe Sudan, the internet was used to invite people to protest and so on. So 406 methods of non-violence, it's a very rich toolbox. And the question is to develop a strategy about stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. You start locally, then you go bigger, and then, all this scientific or systematic approach to the use of nonviolence is what Gene Sharp tried to do. When he passed away, he had collected 189 methods of nonviolence. By now we have 406, and we're still counting. So I think I would say nonviolence must be tried first when there is a conflict. By the way, not only at the national level, which is mostly known at the national level, a state level, put it, but it could be a city level, like a place where there's been some exploitation of child labor, and so on. It has been fought non-violently. It could be in a school. A school also you can try to find non-violently and so on. So this is my first sort of analytic comment. The use of non-violence first, not only that is logic, but it gives better results. Let me give you numbers about it. By the way, I just like to say, the Palestinian acceptance became much higher when in 1988, at the time of this uprising, I was telling you when Mubarak came to organize the Center for Nonviolence, it came in 88, the Palestinian governing body called the Palestinian National Council, by popular pressure of people like Mubarak and many others, declared the Palestinian state to be independent, although they were the government in exile, they were in Tunis, but they declared independence, and they say a two-state solution, not Palestine instead of Israel, but side by side with Israel. Before that, they say Palestine instead of Israel, which was even not possible because Israel is too much of a reality to think that you can throw all the Jews to the sea or whatever. But that was the original platform of the PLO. So that changed in 1988, two-state solution, and they declared that they abandoned the use of terror. Arafat, at that time the leader, went to Geneva, city of peace. You know, there are lots of peace NGOs in Geneva. The UN is there, and he declared there that terrorism is, in French, he used the word caduc, which is finished. So that was a great achievement of the non-violent people of the Palestinians, to get the leaders that were all the time promoting violence against civilians. I'm saying it's not military, at least they have some rules of the game. You know, if you have a soldier of the enemy that is wounded, you don't kill him, you provide medical assistance. But killing, women that went to the market to buy produce and so on. So that changed in 88. Changed for many years, and then it went back, unfortunately. The Palestinians split. Hamas in Gaza, controlled Gaza, using a lot of violence. Palestinians in the West Bank are not now. It goes sometimes ups and down, but in general, they call it now popular resistance. I wouldn't like to use this expression. They should straight say nonviolent action. And popular resistance has some connotations that are hard to define by the book. Am I making sense? It could permit all kinds of things. So anyway, I think that the one reason why I advocate it is because at the universal level, the results that we have now are showing. I have several data banks that I've been looking at, are showing the result of, for instance, the same professor. Am I talking too much? Would you like me to stop now or go on? Professor Jean Sharp counted cases of nonviolent resistance. And then we processed the cases with a research assistant, and 66% of these nonviolent struggles were successful. Namely, they obtained their goal. 26% were not successful. They failed. So when you look at I would say normally nonviolence is the weapon of the weak, because the one who has a lot of weapons and is strong and rich and dominating, why should he rush to nonviolence? I mean, so the weak, I mean, if I use nonviolence, I will challenge the other side to use nonviolence, and then we are equal. It's only a question of numbers, but not of richness, or, we have the same hands and legs, we are equal. So 2/3 of success stories is not bad. That's one source. Now there is another source that is done by somebody in Berlin called the Berghoff Foundation. They say among 323 major violent insurgencies and non-violent mass movements that occurred from 1900 to 2006, non-violent campaigns were twice as effective as violent insurgencies. succeeding more than 55% of the time. 46% of nonviolent campaigns have prevailed long term, whereas only 20% of violent campaigns succeeded against violent repression. So the ratio 2 to 1, which is more or less what we are getting, is amazing. And if you now look at the dates of the 21st century, it's even better. And I do have it in somewhere else. In my class, we have been using it also. So it's much better. It's even better. Palestinians have a little bit of both, but mostly they want to be independent and out of occupation. And we have 20% Arabs living in Israel. For them it's also equality, but it is when you have a neighbor who is the same neighbor that you have internally, and then they are fighting you a war, the local 20% cannot, they are affected by the fact that the enemy is fighting the 80%. You follow what I'm saying? But we have, so all I'm saying now is that in the case of the US, I'm not preaching to the converted. Martin Luther King probably is esteemed by all of you. Am I right? Or is there somebody who thinks that he's not a hero? He is a hero, and he's an international hero for all what he did. So I think the success that led, it took many years to have an African-American president. But in Latin America, there's never been an African-American president, and there are countries that there are a large number, even more in percentage than in the US. So the change has been, depends how you look at it. If you are impatient, it's too little. But I'm at 77. I tell you, it is impressive. Since Martin Luther King took what, 40 years to become African American president, should be sooner. But we don't have a women president in the US. So all these changes take time, and I really think it's an extraordinary contribution. So clearly, nonviolence has a future, and I say increasingly a future, because when I say slavery, if I were living at the last century of BC, before Christ, I mean, slavery was the norm in general. So today, it's it's passé 150 years. So it's like nobody's, and still we have some labor places that people cannot live. They're like prisoners of labor. So change does not occur by having the number one change, and we have to recognize that. Okay. So I just want to finish by going back to the Middle East and tell you what we are planning with Mubarak now when I go back tomorrow to the Middle East. Middle East and North Africa are called by the World Bank and many institutions MENA, Middle East and North Africa, MENA. I don't know if you got familiar. I have some statistics. I would say that the Middle East, since the year 2000, has been the most violent region in the world. We have 9% of the world population and 19% of the casualties, or parallel 19% of the declared violent struggles. I mean, they have a name, like the Arab Spring in Syria, so they are national or local. So 90% of the world struggles, violent struggles, for a population which is 9%. So you can see the difficulty of trying to do non-violence in the Middle East. Very difficult. And so the reasons why we try to, myself as a Jew, to try to help Mubarak to encourage Palestinians to challenge the Israeli ruling power by nonviolence is an assumption that those who are being victims of violence although it may take a while to say, I don't want to be no more the victim of history. I don't want to be the subject. I want to be the one who is no more suffering, including at the price that others will suffer. I suffer enough, kind of. So the Jews have suffered enough. The Holocaust with Germany, a third of the national group was exterminated. 6 million Jews out of 18. There were 12 million left. So that gives a sense, on the one hand, of never again. We are not going to take any threat. So here I come and I posit, I say, for a nation like the Jewish nation, that has been so much the victim through history, the Inquisition, the Crusaders, you name it, a lot. So if you fight for your rights non-violently, I tell the Palestinians, we have a culture of victimhood. The moment that we see the victimhood on the other side, and not the violence on the other side, which reminds us, the Jews, the Holocaust, the Crusaders, the Inquisition, if there will be violence in the market, if there is violence in the discotheque, in the bus, and so on, so they will say the world is the same. And then you become, entrenched in your, the only language they understand is violence. By the way, the Palestinians say about the Jews that the only language we understand is violence. And I challenge that because it's an historic nation, and Mubarak Awad is right on that. If you touch the fiber of humanity, and the victim becomes the victimizer, which is now the case, it's going to weaken the victimizer. If you fight the victim of history, now victimizer of violence. Does it make sense? Am I talking about something that? So I'm not telling the Palestinians because it's easier for me to say, you do the job and fight non-violently, don't kill us, and fight. I'm saying, if you are fighting non-violently for the many Jews in Israel and around the world that will support your just struggle for self-determination. I have an example about my hunger strike. When Mubarak went into the hunger strike, I went into the hunger strike. So I'm not talking, in a vacuum. I'm talking from personal experience. I didn't do it because I could lecture about it in New York. I did it spontaneously because I could not believe that a friend of mine, equal to mine, an academic, somebody who has been born in Jerusalem, I was born in Argentina, by the way. So what right do I have to reject this right to live there? You see what I mean? And so obviously non-violence with the Jews is going to get an extra mile. An extra mile. Some academics among the Palestinians understand it, but we just spoke about the film Gandhi. One of the recommendations we have now, when there was the film done, maybe 20, 30 years ago, it was shown in Israel, and it was shown in the Palestinian territories, even without subtitles, that somebody did it. But you know what? It was forbidden by the Israeli military government to show the film Gandhi. Look how interesting. Very interesting. And since then, Palestinians have not seen the film Gandhi. Now, civil disobedience, we're going to, I will put some money, you put some money, and so on. We are going to do 100 illegal copies of the film. Just it takes only a CD to do it, and we'll distribute it to schools, to everywhere. And if I get in trouble, be it. If somebody else gets in trouble, be it. I have what to do. If I will be in prison, I have lots of things I want to do. So I'm not worried. So we can take the film Gandhi, which is an extraordinary, I really hope you all will see it. And the Palestinians have already the taste of non-violence. But then, now the Arab world is into their own business because of Iran. Iran is threatening Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, so the Palestinians are being forgotten, I would say, forgotten by the Arab world. Egypt made peace with Israel. Not an Egyptian soldier killed, not an Israeli soldier killed since 79. Jordan made peace with Israel, 94. Not a Jordanian soldier killed, not an Israeli soldier killed. Jordan is the longest border of Israel. Egypt is the strongest Arab state. So Israel is not in a rush to do anything. So the two main potential allies of the Palestinians are now in diplomatic relations with Israel. The Palestinians have to do something out of the ordinary. And non-violence is going to get them a lot of sympathy worldwide. Now Trump has closed down the Palestinian office in Washington, and no US government allowed the Palestinians to have an embassy. It has been always an interest section or some kind of a diplomatic office. But Trump closed it down. So the starting point of the Palestinians now is very low. If you start the non-violent struggle, so that's where I just wanted to add. Okay. We also have a public opinion poll among Palestinians and among Israelis about what could be the effect of non-violence. 80% of the Palestinians would support a large-scale non-violent protest movement, and 56% would participate in its activities. It's extremely high time. Now, what happens with us, the Jews? 78% of Israeli Jews believe that the Palestinians have a legitimate right to seek a Palestinian state, provided that they use non-violent means. I mean, I would say it is very easy to say yes to non-violence. It's not that when the time comes, somebody will say, oh boy, they will take some territory back and so on. But at the moment when you ask the straight question whether non-violence could be popular among the users, which should be the Palestinians, and I add, for every 3 Palestinians that will participate, there will be a Jew like me joining them and just helping them.